Hello, I'm Matt, delighted to be back with you to share one of the thoughts I've been having this week. And as you may have seen, this week I've been mainly getting excited about Christmas. It's Advent Sunday on Sunday, and Christmas is always one of my favourite times of year, especially in school. This year, however, it might look a bit different. We're not quite sure yet exactly what we can and can't do this Christmas. But whether we can share it with family or friends, whether we can go to church or not, for Christians around the world, Christmas is always a very special time of year. And this year it might be different, but it will be no less special. Now in school this week, I've been introducing the children to our Advent theme, and we've been doing this by looking at Dudley Dursley. Now if you don't know who Dudley Dursley is, let me tell you. He's a character from the Harry Potter books. In fact, he's Harry Potter's cousin. And for the first 10 or 11 years of Harry Potter's life, they've lived in the same house, being looked after by Dudley's mum and dad, Harry Potter's aunt and uncle. But the two children couldn't have been treated more differently. Dudley was spoilt rotten. And it culminates in the scene from the first story when it's Dudley Dursley's birthday. And he comes bouncing downstairs and into the lounge where there's presents absolutely everywhere. Every chair, sofa, the floor is just covered in presents. But without cracking a smile, the first thing Dudley does is count them. And he hasn't opened one when he gets cross because he's got one less present than he had last year. And he goes ballistic. He gets so cross and angry, shouting at his mum and dad because he hasn't got 34 presents or whatever it is. And in fact, he only calms down when his mum promises that when they go out to the zoo that afternoon, she'll buy him 2 more. He might have loads, but he's still not happy. Then we contrast that with another character from a book, Charlie Bucket, from the story of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. In that story, Charlie also has a birthday, but all he gets is 1 chocolate bar. That's it, literally 1 chocolate bar, and that's not the one with the golden ticket in. But you know what Charlie does? He shares that chocolate bar with every member of his house, and there were quite a few people living in his house, if you know the story. Even though they don't want him to, and they say it's his and he must have it all, he insists on sharing that chocolate bar so everyone shares in the joy. So you have Dudley, who has lots but gets cross and angry, and Charlie, who has very little but makes everybody happy with what he's got. Now the link with a Christmas story is the shepherds, believe it or not. In my book it is, because the shepherds have very little as well. In fact, they're one of the poorest people in that Christmas story, but they end up being the most joyful. Let me read you from Luke chapter 2. Verse 16 to 20 says this. This is just after the angels have seen the shepherds on the hill. So they hurried off and found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger. When they'd seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been told them about this child, and all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds said to them. But Mary treasured up all these things and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all the things they had seen and heard, which were just as they had been told. The shepherds were filled with joy just by seeing Jesus. So much so that they told everybody, and in the middle of the night that must have annoyed them a little bit. But everybody was filled with joy, and they went back to those fields glorifying and praising God. They didn't need presents, they didn't need a tree, they didn't need sprouts or crackers or a turkey, a Christmas movie or chocolate in abundance to feel joy that Christmas day. They just were seeing Jesus. That's all they needed, to be in his presence. So whatever Christmas is like for us this year, and it might be pretty miserable for many, we might not be able to spend it with family and friends as we'd like to. There certainly won't be Christmas parties, no New Year's celebrations. But we can spend time with Jesus, and that should give us enough joy. And I think as Christians, that's our role, isn't it? We can spread the joy. It's not about the presents, it's not about who we spend it with or what we get. It's about Jesus. It's about what he has given to us, and that's to all of us. And we can spread that news this Christmas. We can fill everybody with the joy that comes with knowing Jesus was born to save them, so that one day we can all celebrate together in heaven, and we won't need to sanitize our hands or stay socially distant. So, as Advent approaches, have a good one. Have a great Christmas, whatever you do. And remember, don't be a Dudley.